welcome once again to North Central Cinema. I'm your host, Joseph W. Smith III. Call me Joe, please. For the second time in a row here on the program, I'm joined by North Central PA's Jeremy Stout, and he is also a big film fan. And I know that we both went to see George Miller's 3,000 Years of Longing, which I believe is still in theaters. Mm-hmm. So I've invited him on again to talk a little bit about the film. Now, last time we did Bullet Train, and I asked you to go first. And again, folks, we have not, Jeremy and I have not talked at all about our reactions to the film. No. This time I think I'll just float a couple things out there and let you pick up afterwards, Jeremy. Mm-hmm. I was a little bit, it left me a little bit cold, to be honest. Really? Mm-hmm. I felt that the plot was a little too thin and that it betrayed its short story origins. Not that I was bored, but it just didn't feel like a movie that I could go around recommending to a lot of my friends. Yeah. Although very unusual for George Miller, writer-director of the film. What did you think?
See, this is one of my favorite films of the year that I've seen. Yeah, I really liked it. I thought that, I do agree, it is sparse on narrative. It's more focused on its ideas, and I definitely think towards the end it kind of gets meandering and it doesn't really know where it's supposed to end up, and the last act doesn't necessarily mesh very well. But I think as a way of examining what stories mean to us and how narratives shape our lives, it's extremely interesting, and it's certainly a wildly different follow-up from Mad Max Fury Road. Yeah. And I also thought the performances were just phenomenal from Idris and Cate Blanchett.
Yeah, I'm absolutely with you on that. I'll be honest with you. I'm not a huge Tilda Swinton fan. I find her, although
Tilda Swinton. I said Cate Blanchett. I apologize.
And it's very easy to get the two of them mixed up.
Yes, it is.
And they're similarly talented. Now, she has a lot of accolades, and I know the critics are crazy about her. I often find her a little mannered in her films. You can see the acting, in my opinion, but here I thought she was excellent, and it's a fantastical film. It's basically a Jeannie Grant's Three Wishes movie set in the modern age, set partly in the modern age. But because she is so believable and so low-key, and Idris Elba is also very low-key, it really helps bring across the fantastical elements, like early on in the film when the genie first appears as a giant, like, person-sized hand that reaches in the bathroom door. She really pulls it off. You know, she doesn't go through the roof or start screaming or anything, but she really helps put it across in terms of the fantasy element. So I'm with you on the performances.
Yeah. See, here's also something. I usually hit films for looking to digital, and I think this movie has a lot of digital effects, a lot of really well done digital effects, and it's not like an effects-driven movie, right, but it uses the digital effects, like specifically the big scale thing. I thought that looked phenomenal. I thought it looked incredible, and it really brought a sense of wonder, and that's what I really liked about this movie. It made you think about story structure and narrative, and like really brought a sense of wonder back to movies that I feel like is missing a lot now.
Yeah, and it's interesting to come from, you mentioned George Miller, and I still think that Mad Max Fury Road might be the greatest action movie ever made. That was his latest film. It was the fourth of his Mad Max films. So you wouldn't expect what's essentially a modern fairy tale, and it's also a bit of a love story. Yeah. And it's very low-key, despite its fantastical elements. And yet, you need to remember that he did the animated film Happy Feet. Yes. And he also did Babe, both Babe movies. So he has a track record of stepping outside the action movie genre and doing so successfully.
Yeah, I mean, The Witches of Eastwick, like there, you can go, like he has such a wide berth of films that he's done, which is something I've always really appreciated about George Miller. He's never really pigeonholed himself into being like one kind of filmmaker. Yep. Which I think makes him interesting in a lot of ways.
You know, and you spoke about the visuals too, and a lot of that I think is on. You have the veteran cameraman John Seale.
Oh yes, yeah,
He did Witness and The Mosquito Coast, which are, I mean, when you work for Peter Weir, I'm sure you learn a lot. And then he also did one of the Potter films, and he won an Oscar for The English Patient. Mm-hmm. So he's got about almost a 40-year career. And the film it really looks wonderful. You don't expect anything less from George Miller because his films are usually visually seamless.
And I think that carries over here. I love the way they transition between scenery with the plumes of smoke billowing from like the lamp. Like I think that looks really good. I think there's a lot of really fun, clever transitions here.
Yeah, and we should talk a little bit just what the storyline is. It's about a writer played by Swinton who's at a conference in Istanbul, and she acquires a lamp with a genie in it. And he wants her to make 3 wishes, but she's a writer, so she knows that every story with 3 wishes in it winds up very badly for the greedy wisher. So she doesn't want to do it. But until she asks him for those 3 wishes, he cannot be free and go on his own way. So what he does is he proceeds to tell her how he got stuck in the bottle, and it's a series of flashbacks going back 3,000 years. So there's a lot of material that's very ancient, Middle Eastern stuff, and court intrigue, and some romance and betrayal. So all of this is taking place in a hotel room, but there's a lot of flashbacks and a lot of very stylized visuals there. Yeah, my only thing was I felt I didn't. It's based on a short story, and I suppose I'd like to sit down and read that story sometime.
Yeah, I felt like
to know how he ends it. I mean, it's a wise ending, and you're like, yeah, I can see his point is very well taken, but narratively, it just it didn't feel like it was going anywhere. It takes a while to get out of the stall because there's about 80 or 90 minutes of flashbacks where and then we come up to the present time, and we realize that the narratologist Swinton is falling in love with this guy. So then the movie gets ready to move forward, and I didn't really feel like it went anywhere, which to me was very awkward for a movie that's about storytelling. If you're going to be about storytelling, you got to have a good ending.
Yes, yeah.
So that kind of, otherwise I did like it. I thought it was very well made.
Yeah. I get your point, but I again feel like Miller got very much trapped in the ideas and then never got around to figuring out an interesting conclusion.
Yeah.
It's like a thesis that he doesn't have a conclusion to, and I get that could definitely leave people cold, but I was just so caught up in the visuals and like the performances, and I thought Idris really brought a sense of heartbreak and longing.
He's underappreciated.
Yeah. I think this is easily one of my favorite performances that I've seen.
I would have paid money to see him play James Bond once. He's a little too old to take up the franchise, for 10 or 15 years, but he would have made a very, very good James Bond, I think.
Yeah.
So
you get a little bit of that vibe with Luther, but
yeah. And maybe a couple of the other things that he's done.
Yeah.
But yeah, the world building is very, very accomplished here, and it's funny because you and I we're pulling in a little bit in opposite directions here, but it also has polarized viewers.
Yeah.
Because it kind of is tanking. Variety said it was probably going to be one of the big bombs of the year because it's just not making any money. But the critics have been very fond of it, generally speaking. I think it got a big ovation. Was it Venice, maybe? Or
I thought it was Cannes.
It was Cannes, yeah.
Where it debuted, but also the write-ups out of that have been kind of split. Like it has like a mixed on Metacritic, which I know is not exactly Rotten Tomatoes, which I think it's like 60% in Rotten Tomatoes, so it's like just on the side of what they would call fresh.
Okay, that must be recently updated because I was seeing something in the 70s, and of course Metacritic is a little bit tougher to please. I'm not really sure what the logarithm is there. Do you have any idea what else Miller is doing? I mean, he is getting up there in years. He's in his mid-70s.
I feel like I've heard that there's a script, a prequel, a Mad Max prequel, and he's also doing I think a Furiosa spinoff that there was talk of. I don't know how that's going. And then last I checked, Charlize Theron was not a fan of making Mad Max Fury Road.
Yeah, I heard that
which was apparently a rather tortured, months-long process in the desert.
I'm not surprised because he doesn't he goes for the practical stuff. And there's only a couple of computerized effects in that film, and I imagine it was quite an arduous shoot. Yeah. But I would think, I'm quite a bit older than you, Jeremy, so I saw Road Warrior when it came out, and it was like entering a different universe. I'm like, who made this thing? This is an incredible piece of filmmaking, and I would love to see something showing how the world arrived at that place, that post-apocalyptic wasteland where everyone wants fuel.
Yeah.
So that there's a lot to be done there if Miller's up for it. Anything else later on this year that you're interested in? I've been looking at some of the upcoming releases, so they're floating around in my head right now.
The Menu, I'm kind of interested. That has like Ray Fiennes in fun movie star mode again, which I feel like he doesn't get an opportunity to play a lot, and I really like charming movie star Ray Fiennes. So I'm interested in that.
I was interested in. There's Amsterdam, which is David O. Russell, and this colossal cast. I mean, it's really got like 12. You know, each one of these people could carry a movie. And it's got 12 of them in there, and that is, I guess, a 30s crime thriller. And then there's the one with Saoirse Ronan and Sam Rockwell coming out this weekend, and I'm danged if I can think of the name of it.
Oh yeah,
it's a British mystery comedy.
Yeah, that's. I mean, Saoirse Ronan and Sam Rockwell sounds.
And there's a Knives Out sequel. So I guess the murder mysteries are all the rage this year.
Yeah.
Probably because Knives Out made so much money. And and the other big thing that I should mention before we wrap up here is there's a Montoursville native named Adam Makis, and he's written 4 books about World War II, nonfiction. And at least 3 of them have been optioned for films. And the first one will be out, I think, in November or December. It's called Devotion. It's about the first black naval aviator. So I was talking to Adam's sister just the other day, and I said, this movie has come along just at the right time. Not only is it going to be riding on the wings of Maverick, but it actually has in it Glenn Powell, who played Hangman. And it's also supposed to be a really good movie. It's really a heart wrencher. I've read the book, so that's exciting.
Yeah.
And they've picked up a couple of his other books as well. So a big time for Adam Makis. I'm looking forward to Devotion.
Sounds exciting.
Well, here we are, a little bit split on this movie. You can go see for yourself. I think it is still playing, and once it's finished playing, it'll probably be streaming.
Locally, I know it's at least still playing at the Regal Lycoming Mall.
Yep, the Regal tends to hang on to them a little bit longer. All right, well, come back and join us again later. Maybe we'll do some holidays.
Yes,
Jeremy.
sounds great.
Okay, take care. Thanks.
Yep.
Join us again.
At UPMC, we're pioneering new ways to treat cancer, and we're working to prevent it. We're advancing new technology to look more closely at disease and helping you breathe easier. We perform the world's first heart-liver transplant, and we're experts at keeping your heart beating strong. We're a global team of more than 90,000, advancing care everywhere and delivering it closer to you. UPMC, life-changing medicine.